Was it really a bird strike, a freak mechanical failure, or an overlooked error waiting to unravel? On December 29, 2024, Jeju Air Flight 7C-2216, a Boeing 737-800, was set for a routine flight from bustling Bangkok to South Korea's serene Muan International Airport. But what unfolded was far from ordinary. Just as it was preparing to land, tragedy struck, leaving 179 out of 181 passengers and crew lost forever. Today, we'll uncover the chilling details of what happened aboard that ill-fated flight. Was it negligence, an unavoidable accident, or a mix of both? Could this catastrophe have been avoided if safety protocols were stronger? And most importantly, what lessons has the aviation world learned? Buckle up as we dive into the gripping analysis of Jeju Air Flight 7C-2216, starting with Chapter 1, the flight that landed with its belly. Let's find out what really happened. December 29, 2024, was just another day in aviation history, or so it seemed. Jeju Air Flight 7C-2216 took off from Bangkok, carrying passengers of all walks of life. Among them were retirees enjoying winter vacations, professionals from South Korea's thriving finance industry, and a handful of families returning home for the holidays. Piloting the aircraft was Captain Kim Dae-young, a seasoned aviator with over 15,000 flight hours under his belt, alongside co-pilot Lee Ji-hoon, a promising newcomer with an impressive record. Confidence ran high as the Boeing 737-800 climbed effortlessly into the sky. But as they neared Muan International Airport, a sudden jolt rattled the aircraft. A deafening thud echoed through the cockpit, followed by alarms on the control panel. The pilots quickly identified the culprit, a bird strike. Feathers and debris clogged one engine, and worse, preliminary checks hinted at damage to the landing gear mechanism. What would you have done in the captain's shoes? Would you proceed to Muan or divert to a better-equipped airport? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below as we continue to explore what happened next. Emergency landing preparations and challenges. With alarms blaring and the situation escalating, Captain Kim and co-pilot Lee had a decision to make, and fast. Should they attempt to land at Muan International Airport, their designated destination, or divert to a more prepared facility like Incheon? Muan, though modern, lacked specialized equipment for extreme emergencies. After careful deliberation, the captain made the call. They would proceed to Muan. Declaring a mayday, the pilots informed air traffic control of their predicament, a potentially compromised landing gear and one engine operating below capacity. Passengers were still blissfully unaware of the full gravity of the situation, as cabin crew began rehearsing emergency procedures. As the plane descended, Muan's tower prepared its ground crew, though resources were limited. Meanwhile, Captain Kim tried manually deploying the landing gear, only to find that the hydraulics weren't responding. A belly landing loomed as the only option. Did Captain Kim make the right call? Or could diverting have saved those on board? The drama was just beginning to unfold as Flight 7C-2216 braced for impact. Stay tuned to see what happened as they approached the runway. The crash, runway overrun, and collision. The Boeing 737-800 approached Muan's runway at a shallow angle, sparks igniting as the aircraft made a belly landing. Without the landing gear to cushion the impact, the belly of the plane scraped along the asphalt, throwing up sparks and metal fragments. Passengers inside gripped their seats as the cabin lights flickered. Despite the pilot's best efforts to stabilize the aircraft, the 737 skidded uncontrollably. In mere seconds, the plane overshot the runway. Ahead lay the infamous concrete antenna array, a controversial structure many pilots had criticized as too close to the end of the runway. Unable to stop in time, the plane collided with it at high speed. The impact split the aircraft, triggering a massive explosion that engulfed most of the fuselage in flames. Firefighters rushed to the scene, battling the inferno. But for many, it was already too late. Only 2 survivors, seated in the tail section, lived to tell the tale. Could the presence of this antenna structure have been the difference between life and death? And how did Jeju Air's maintenance practices factor into this tragedy? Join us in Chapter 2 as we analyze the chain of events that led to this disaster. Investigating the bird strike's impact. The fateful journey of Jeju Air Flight 7C-2216 took a terrifying turn when a bird strike occurred during its descent into Muan International Airport. While bird strikes are a common hazard in aviation, this one proved catastrophic. A flock of large migratory birds, possibly geese, collided with the aircraft, damaging one engine and causing vibrations that shook the airframe. But that wasn't the worst of it. The landing gear mechanism, situated dangerously close to the affected area, showed signs of impact. This wasn't immediately clear to the pilots, who struggled with increasingly erratic readings on their cockpit displays. They followed emergency protocols, attempting to lower the gear manually. However, the hydraulic system, a critical component, may have been compromised by the collision. Here's a twist. Most modern planes are built to withstand bird strikes. So why did this one result in such severe damage? Was the landing gear already weakened due to maintenance lapses? Or was it a case of sheer bad luck? What do you think caused the failure? Comment below if you believe the bird strike alone was responsible, or if maintenance may have played a role. The runway. Its pilots faced a daunting challenge. Muan International Airport, while modern, has a runway that's been criticized for its lack of buffer zones. To make matters worse, at the far end of the runway stands a concrete antenna structure, an essential yet controversial installation. This structure, part of the Instrument Landing System (ILS), is meant to guide planes during low-visibility landings. But pilots have voiced concerns for years, arguing it's placed far too close to the runway, leaving no room for error. Flight 7C-2216's belly landing was executed with precision, but the runway was unforgiving. The plane skidded across the surface, sparks flying, only to collide with the antenna array. The impact was catastrophic, splitting the fuselage and igniting the deadly fire. Now here's a thought. Should such structures be built using collapsible materials to minimize damage in emergencies? Or was this placement a critical oversight by airport authorities? Let us know in the comments. Do you think the runway's design was partly to blame, or was this tragedy unavoidable? Examining Jeju Air's maintenance and safety protocols. To truly understand the disaster of Flight 7C-2216, we must examine Jeju Air's maintenance practices and safety protocols. Jeju Air is a low-cost carrier that has rapidly expanded over the years, operating one of the busiest fleets in Asia. While its growth has been impressive, has it come at the cost of safety? Records reveal that Jeju Air had faced scrutiny for its maintenance schedule, with some critics suggesting the airline stretched its aircraft usage to maximize profits. The Boeing 737-800 involved in the crash was no stranger to rigorous duty cycles, making regular short-haul flights across Asia. Though the bird strike was an external factor, investigators are asking tough questions. Was the landing gear already compromised due to wear and tear? Were maintenance checks rushed or skipped altogether? Could pre-existing issues have magnified the damage caused by the bird strike? Should airlines be held accountable for not grounding aircraft for more thorough inspections, especially after incidents like this? Drop your thoughts below. Do you think cost-cutting measures could have played a part in this tragedy? Human stories of survivors and victims. The crash of Jeju Air Flight 7C-2216 didn't just claim lives. It left an indelible mark on families and communities. Among the 179 passengers who perished were finance executives heading to year-end meetings, retirees seeking a peaceful holiday, and young families looking forward to reunions. 2 survivors, flight attendants seated in the rear cabin, escaped the inferno when their section detached upon impact. Their accounts paint a harrowing picture of those final moments: chaos, smoke, and fire as the aircraft skidded uncontrollably. One survivor recalled hearing desperate prayers and cries for loved ones. Another described the bravery of a father who shielded his children until the end. The victims' families demand answers. Who will compensate for the lost lives? Will the airline take responsibility, or will their grief be met with bureaucratic silence? Should the government enforce stricter accountability for airlines in cases like this? Do you think survivors and victims' families should receive more than financial compensation? Share your thoughts in the comments. Investigative reports and findings. The investigation into Flight 7C-2216's crash was one of South Korea's most complex. The black box revealed a series of unfortunate events: the bird strike, the hydraulic failure, and the ill-fated decision to attempt a belly landing at Muan International Airport. Experts noted that the concrete antenna structure played a pivotal role in the high fatality rate. Its placement, a mere 50 meters beyond the runway, violated international safety recommendations. But the findings didn't stop there. Investigators uncovered inconsistencies in Jeju Air's maintenance logs. Hydraulic system repairs had been delayed multiple times due to cost concerns. Could this negligence have amplified the damage caused by the bird strike? Additionally, the pilot's decision-making came under scrutiny. Should they have diverted to a better-equipped airport like Incheon? Fatigue may have played a role. Captain Kim had completed multiple flights that week, and stress from corporate pressures loomed large. What do you think? Should airlines be penalized for pushing cost-cutting measures that risk safety? Let us know in the comments below. Aviation industry changes prompted by the disaster. The crash of Jeju Air Flight 7C-2216 served as a wake-up call for the aviation industry. In its aftermath, South Korea's aviation authorities implemented sweeping changes. Runway infrastructure was revamped at smaller airports like Muan, replacing rigid structures with collapsible, energy-absorbing materials. Jeju Air faced heavy fines and was required to overhaul its maintenance schedules. Aircraft now undergo stricter inspections, particularly focusing on high-risk components like landing gear and hydraulics. Globally, the tragedy sparked conversations about pilot fatigue. New guidelines now limit the number of consecutive flights pilots can operate, prioritizing their mental and physical well-being. The crash also raised awareness about bird strike prevention. Airports around the world increased funding for advanced radar systems to detect avian activity near runways. But the question remains, are these changes enough to prevent another disaster? Or is the industry doomed to repeat its mistakes? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. While you're here, wouldn't you mind subscribing to the channel? Your support motivates us to bring you more gripping aviation analyses every day.